What's up folks, Mike for CMCC Builds here to talk more about the Gauntlet. Before I jump into that, I wanted to thank my patron, Undead Achilles. Your name is awesome, your support is awesome, and you are awesome. If you haven't subscribed yet, and more than 78% of you haven't, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps the channel. We have a lot of great things cooking, and a couple of those I want to talk about right now. Since the Gauntlet's release nearly 3 months ago, there's been a lot of discussion about the goals, merits, and even the validity of the video series. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, which I'm really thankful for, but there is a smaller group with very strong opinions on all things wrong with the series. Rather than address each of those concerns in a video, I'm going to work with the primary designer of the Gauntlet to put out a theory document on the goals of this Gauntlet and clarifying why certain choices were made. This will probably just be a write-up rather than a video, but it'll be there in case anyone is curious about the thought processes and methodologies used to create this thing that I love, and I hope you enjoy. In addition to that, the big question that keeps coming up on different forums, on YouTube, amongst patrons, and in various Discord channels is, how can I play the Gauntlet? Well, I'm here to tell you that we're creating a Discord channel for anyone who wants to do just that. There you can access all the maps, all the creatures, and all the encounter details of each Gauntlet from level 6 through 18. People will be able to take all those materials and set up a Gauntlet with a friend and do a run with any build they want. From there, ideally, those that run the Gauntlet would create a detailed summary of the encounters and the results. This will allow people to compare builds, compare runs of the same builds, provide feedback on the Gauntlet design, the maps, the enemies, anything and everything. Who knows, maybe some people will be featured in a video version of the Gauntlet with their own builds. Maybe even a build video, hint hint. I just ask that everyone be as honest as possible. There are no grand prizes, this isn't a competition, this whole thing is meant to bring us together to highlight cool builds that other people may want to try, or even see in action. I want this to make the Gauntlet better, to make builds better, and to make us better as players. The Discord channel is linked below. Please stop by and join if this is of interest to you. It is a work in progress, so you will see plenty of changes over the next few weeks. We will include all the details of each Gauntlet, but right now, all you will be able to see is the level 14 Gauntlet. As I release Gauntlet videos at different levels, we will update the server with the details of that Gauntlet simultaneously, so you can watch the video and head over to the Discord to get the details of the new Gauntlet for your own use. You can then report your results and hopefully discuss how things went, what you liked, what you changed, etc. and so forth. Of course, and this should go without saying, be nice to everyone. It's good advice for anything. Just be nice. I've seen this weird negativity that I alluded to earlier from places I would not expect to see it, so I want to make sure that everyone does their best to be polite and be constructive with their feedback to us and more importantly to each other. Criticism is not only expected but welcome. We all want to get better. That's a big part of this. But for your criticism to be taken to heart, it should be presented in a way that's non-combative, not condescending, and from a place of genuine helpfulness. To that end, I'm considering, meaning this hasn't been finalized, only allowing feedback or discussion of Gauntlet runs to those that submit their own Gauntlet summaries and results. That may come off as exclusionary, but for me it's about skin in the game. I don't want people to sit back and throw rocks at other people when they themselves are unwilling to submit themselves to the same scrutiny. If we're all in this thing together, I think we can create a pretty cool community to improve our builds and our play and hopefully have some fun in the process. With that said, and with the far more detailed theory document on the way, I want to take a moment to discuss what the Gauntlet is meant to be and how we run it. Much of this is discussed in the intro video, but it's important enough to reiterate and further clarify here. The Gauntlet, as shown in my videos, is not an attempt at a scientific analysis of build strength. The goal is to demo specific builds for the viewer, and the key word there is build. We're not demoing optimized parties. This is about a specific build. D&D is most often, but not always, played with full parties. This is understood. Replicating an exact play session is not the goal. Demoing the build is the goal. The more optimized builds you introduce into the scenario, the more difficult it becomes to see the clear impact of the build in question. Did the party succeed because of the Shadow Monk casting darkness and attacking several enemies with triple advantage, or the Warlock with Devil Sight Eldritch blasting enemies into the Druid spike growth, by way of an example? The support builds or force multipliers do suffer because of this. There is no way around it. It's a trade-off. But there is something to be said about taking ineffective characters and making them effective. Compare the Expert or Warrior in the Nuke Gauntlet to the Expert and Spellcaster in the Barbarian Gauntlet. The Orc Warrior did quite well, and the Expert would spit out about 20 damage per round on most rounds. The Expert in the Barb Gauntlet did 19 damage. Total. The reason for that is almost entirely, but not completely, due to the wizard's ability to force multiply, leading the weirds in turn 1, then freezing the Chuls allowed those sidekicks to flourish, as an example. And even though the exact power increases of those sidekicks will certainly be less than the power increase a Force multiplayer may have on an optimized Gloomstalker, as another example, in many ways it's more impressive for a build to take these weak sidekicks and make them decent. To spell it out mathematically, taking a 10 to a 20 is a big increase, but it's in many ways less impressive than bringing a 2 to an 8, even though the actual raw increase is less in the latter scenario. The percentage increase is far greater, 300% as compared to the former 100%. Now, I'm not saying the math shakes out this way because I haven't done an analysis on this level and neither has anyone else, so we just don't know yet. So for this reason and a few others that I won't get into here, we will also have gauntlets that include entire optimized parties instead of just sidekicks. That will be a nice addition that we can throw in occasionally and people can try it out as they desire. There really is no good reason not to include both, even though I will continue to focus primarily on the sidekick version of the gauntlet for the reasons I just illustrated. I've also had a big YouTuber ask me, then what is the point? We already know that a monk is weaker than a wizard. Why do we need a video to show us that? Well, besides the obvious point that just because you know something to be true doesn't mean that someone else does. And of course, builds are not just wizard and monk. There are countless wizard builds out there. How do they perform in this context? Who knows? Because we haven't seen it yet. How does it play at level 10 versus level 18? Most people don't know because they haven't seen or played it yet. We want to see these things in action for all the reasons laid out in the intro video and this video. This is why the Gauntlet thumbnails say XYZ build in action, because I want to see it, some of you want to see it, and now everyone can play it.